The CDC conducted a study between 2016 and 2019 about mental disorders in children between the ages of 3 and 17 years old. Of those children, 5.8 million had anxiety, 6 million had ADHD, 2.7 million had depression, and 5.5 million had some sort of behavioral issue. My name is Elizabeth Laskowski, and ever since I was in 7th grade, I have had anxiety. Not only have I had anxiety, but when I got it, I felt the need to vomit. 5 years after this all started, I was in high school and I was actually diagnosed with general anxiety disorder and severe depression. But why had I never been taught how to handle these feelings and emotions and problems that I was coming across? Some days it felt like I wasn't even going to make it to the end of the day, let alone graduation. And I thought to myself, if I had felt that way and the CDC had reported millions of mental illnesses in children, then I can only assume at least one person listening to this may have experienced some sort of anxiety-causing situation or depressive thoughts as well at a young age. Today I'm going to be talking about why I believe that mental health should be taught and discussed in schools for all ages and the reasoning behind it. I first wanted to talk about something serious, something we have all heard or seen. Every year I hear more and more stories about children taking their own life, and every year when I hear it, it doesn't get easier. Suicide is the third leading cause of death between the ages of 10 to 24. 90% of those people had some sort of underlying mental illness. Many mental health conditions stem or start in your younger years, in your adolescent years. And did you know that people with mental illness often become high school dropouts, substance abusers, they get arrested, or they die early if it's not treated? 50% of the people who have a mental illness today had a mental illness by the age of 14, and I'm one of them. Knowing that mental illness stems from one's adolescent years 50% of the time, why are we not teaching children how to learn and navigate these thoughts and feelings? Why are we not teaching children about mental illnesses? Schools need to be teaching children about mental illnesses. What about parents teaching them? You would never ask a parent to teach your children about math, social studies, and science, right? You wouldn't. What about taking your kid to counseling? That would be beneficial for that child, but only some children show signs of mental illness, and others are very good at masking it and hiding it. When you individualize only those who need to be taught, only those affected learn. And the children do not know how to handle these situations because they were never taught about what's going on. And schools teach about sexual protection, sexual prevention, and sexual diseases when you start middle school. At this age, most children haven't even thought about these topics. You know what they have thought about? Or you know what they have had going on? Mental illness. Mental illness onset can start in someone as young as 7 years old. Most middle schoolers are between the ages of 11 and 14. That means elementary students are showing signs of mental illnesses, or they have been positively ID'd with a mental illness, yet we still teach students about sexual education, and we don't even talk about mental health. Not only that, but it's been proven by NAMI, which is the National Alliance on Mental Illness, that children with mental illnesses have a harder time learning and developing than a child that doesn't have a mental illness. Can you imagine if all children had an equal opportunity in school because everyone was taught and well diversed in the topic of mental illnesses and mental health, and as a whole we could all help the students that were struggling? Teaching children about mental illnesses and how to address someone with a mental illness would not only help them understand their own feelings, but it would also help them better communicate, because they know that they're not the only one out there that feels like that. They understand it's normal. It's also helpful when children talk to another child. They feel more comfortable. If children were talked about mental illness, it's possible that suicide rates would drop due to less bullying and hopefully more friend support. Children probably would be able to do better at school and better at home. So what should we do about it? I believe children should be slowly introduced to the topic of mental health and mental illnesses in elementary school, because that's where it all starts. There should be a mental health class that's required in middle school and in high school, just like you would take home economics, just like PE was required. And you need to keep in mind that high school children become teenagers and they deal with societal pressures. This is the time that young people find themselves, they find their self-worth, they find out what they want to be in life when they grow up. This is the most crucial time for kids to learn about mental health and taking care of themselves going forward. So as I was saying, there are millions of children that have some sort of mental illness or some sort of mental health disorder, whether that be anxiety, depression, ADHD, or something else. Kids need to learn about themselves and what is going on in their own brain. As Shannon Purser once said, mental health affects every aspect of your life. It's not just this neat little issue you can put into a box. This is why schools need to be portraying mental health and physical health as equals, because they are. I hope you loved my speech, and I hope this opened your eyes. Thank you so much.